I'm going to be educating you guys on getting into a workflow with MetaStock, but also using some of the newer tools in MetaStock that I think are, in all honesty, a little bit underrated. First off, for those of you that are attending now, people that have been using MetaStock for years, people that are brand new to MetaStock, we have been able to put together a software system over the years that has worked very well. In fact, well enough to get the Reader's Choice Award in Stocks and Commodities magazine for the last 25 straight years. Our MetaStock Pro program, the real-time program, has won over the course of the last 11 years. So if you are new to MetaStock, or if you're using an older version of MetaStock but you want to try out the newest version, version 14, please take us up on this trial offer. What we're going to do is we're going to offer you 3 months of MetaStock and data for the price of one. And kind of the motivation behind us giving this extended trial is we want to have, first off, we want to have the ability to answer questions, walk you through, train you on MetaStock, etc. But you need to get into a workflow with MetaStock. You need to be able to understand how the software works and how it might work for you as far as a trader, so that you can take these different systems that some from the speakers that we had this evening, our other experts that we work with, and start integrating that within MetaStock and your trading style to see if it's a good fit for you. So if you do want to take advantage of that extended trial, metastock.com/APAC-Summit341. Now, we also are going to be coming to Sydney, Australia. For those of you in Sydney or close to Sydney, we're going to be actually having a live face-to-face event. We love doing those. We do them all over the world. This time around, we're actually bringing Mr. Rahul Mahindar, Stuart McPhee, Paul Nogin, who spoke here earlier, the owner of MetaStock, Scott Brown, and Kelly Clement, the Director of Sales, to educate you on MetaStock, and we want these other experts speaking to work with you face-to-face and really walk you through the finer points of their methodology, things that you couldn't really get out of it just by looking into our expert advisor, or reading books, or watching webinars, etc. So to spend a little face-to-face time, with some of the top in the industry. Now, normally these conferences will go for $599. For attending the summit, you will actually get a $200 discount, so $399 for that summit. Now, for any of the offers that you've seen this evening, to take advantage of a MetaStock trial, to try out MetaStock Zenith, or if you want to come meet us in Sydney, feel free to come into our sales chat, which is open right now, www.metastock.com/sales chat, or call us, international number +1 801 506-0900. Now, like I said, I want to speak a little bit more about the workflow, because I think that and some of our speakers today have really driven that home, that a workflow, whether it be your analysis leading up to the trade, whether it be the process of actually managing that trade, exiting the trade, your expectations out of that trade, establishing stop losses, etc. All of these things are very, very important. And what we want to do is be able to put that all in one platform to where you can easily move from finding a trading opportunity to analyzing that trading opportunity to testing the system, your trading system, against that instrument or those instruments, all the way to looking into the future a little bit based off of probability of price movement. Now, we have many systems within MetaStock that come with MetaStock right off the bat. We have some that we've talked about tonight, like the Haguro method. We have other systems that our other experts like CK or Paul or Brad have discussed that they've actually used MetaStock to program their system within. One thing that I want to do is kind of twofold. I want to show you some of the systems available and the workflow that really honestly sets MetaStock apart. And I think one of the best ways to do that is through showing you one of the add-ons that we've had for a very long time. In fact, it's one of the best selling add-ons that we have of all time, and that's Performance Systems Plus. And essentially, Performance Systems Plus actually has some scans, some indicators, some experts, etc., that are built in MetaStock right off the bat. But what we did is we created 54 new performance systems, 70 explorations that will have you trading with a higher level of confidence and expertise. What we've done is a significant amount of testing. We've combined a ton of different systems, created indicators based off of those systems, as well as system tests, so that you can go out there and test these systems against instruments once you use our exploration tool. This add-on actually adds on to everything that comes within MetaStock. It comes with 54 expert systems, 32 indicators, 75 expert advisors, 75 system tests, and 75 explorations. So this is something that we would classify as more of a toolbox as far as add-ons are concerned. Something that we're going to provide you a lot of tools that you can kind of mix and match and add to your already current trading strategy, or go ahead and implement these within, in the process of actually finding a trading strategy. Now, I'm not great at PowerPoint, so I want to actually just jump into MetaStock. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at the workflow that you can get into very easily with MetaStock. But I'm also going to be using this add-on along the way to kind of show you the diversity there in implementing your system. Now, we've all, this evening, we've actually already seen a lot of the charting capability of MetaStock as far as adding indicators using the expert advisor that we saw in Gary Burton's presentation for the Haguro method. What I want to get into is how do you find what you want to trade? What is the process that you go through to take 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 possible instruments to trade and whittle it down to a few that you want to do further analysis on? The easiest way to do it is, once you have a system that you trade, is to be able to scan across thousands of instruments or hundreds of instruments to find certain specific things that you're looking for. This is done within our exploration tool. Now, we have about 220 explorations that come with MetaStock. Performance Systems adds another 70 or so. Now, I've taken the liberty, and I've actually already ran a scan. It took about 45 seconds across the S&P 500. And what we're looking for is something very, very simple, just a moving average. I don't want to get too complicated. So for the sake of the demonstration, I want to be able to use something that everyone is fairly familiar with. So the CCI moving average crossover signal. Now, this is going to cover both long and short signals of a moving average crossover. So and what I did is I actually ran this scan during one of the earlier presentations. Like I said, it took about 45 seconds to do across the S&P 500. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is take a look at that report. Computer's been on for a while, so it locked up on me. Just one moment. So what we'll do here, let me have a lot of applications open right now, so let me just go ahead and restart MetaStock. While that's loading up, I'll go ahead and answer a question here. As options are getting more popular, how will MetaStock help options traders in the future? Options are incredibly popular. We have many option traders currently that we work with. And I think that to speak to the point that I was making in establishing a workflow, an option is always going to be based off of the underlying instrument. So being able to identify what instruments are actually moving, what the volatility is there, but also being able to take a look at certain specific essentially price-based events and how they affect that instrument moving forward is going to play a key part, especially if you're an options trader. And I'll actually, glad you asked that, because we'll be getting into our forecaster tool here in just a moment. Now, another question's rolling in here. Does the price listed give you the live data, and does it have options trading tools? Yes, Jenny, it does. Price listed, so if you're looking at the trial, the listed price there will be a data price as well. Subscriptions to MetaStock will be broken up into our different categories. As far as end of day data will come with it. As far as our real-time product, that is something that the data is separate, kind of depending on, in all honesty, what you're looking for. And our account managers here would be more than happy to work with you in finding out exactly what you trade and what's going to be the best fit. So I'm actually going to, now that MetaStock's back up, we'll go ahead and just run the scan again instead of trying to find out grab the old report. Just going to go ahead and start this exploration. So again, what I'm doing is I'm looking for CCI moving average crossover out of about 1,200 records over the S&P 500, so 504 instruments. So as you can see, this status bar that's coming up right now, we're cruising through this pretty fast. We'll be halfway there here in just a second. But what you're able to do here is essentially find these different systems. And as I said, the systems are all listed here. So for example, everything that's starting with PS is actually performance systems. So quite a few there. We also have the RMO, Rahul Mahindar's add-on that we've had within MetaStock for a long time, as well as many different expert systems that you can actually look at and base your trading decisions on. So we're wrapping up. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at this report. Okay. Now with the report, essentially what we've done is we've been able to identify short and long signals across the S&P 500. Now it ends up in the actually right now the report window I think is stuck on my other monitor. But what we're able to do from there is we're actually able to start looking at the different signals we get, and I believe there are about 19 of them out of 504. So the important thing at that point is once you have a list of results, 19 or 20 results, we've taken 504 instruments, we've whittled it down to 19 possibilities. So what we want to do is we want to really identify what instruments are trading the best with the system that you're using. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our system tester here. We're going to scroll down to CCI moving average crossover. And let's go ahead and run that. And the results of my last exploration are here. And these were actually the results of my last exploration. So all 19 are here, but I want to check this box to select all of them. I'm going to go ahead and start that system test. It'll take a couple of seconds. So what we're looking over is over the last 500 records, so about 2 trading years. We're looking at the performance of the moving average crossover versus these 19 instruments that we just searched for. Now, this report that comes up, essentially, what we're taking a look at is the actual performance report. So if we were actively trading the CCI moving average expert system on these 19 instruments, which ones would have done the best? So first off, what I want to see is net profit. Okay, so we double click on net profit, and what we're doing is we're arranging this bar graph. Green obviously means we're making money here. Red, we're losing money. So what we're looking at here essentially is a complete readout of how well we've done over the course of the last 2 years by actively trading this system. Now, there's a few things that we can look for as traders. As Brad mentioned a little bit earlier, most of you are going to have full-time jobs. Most of us are not going to be able to sit in front of computers all day and day trade. So you have to find the trading system that's really going to make sense for you. So one of the ways in looking at this, let's say that our #1 top performer here was Alliance Data. So looking at this report, I can already tell that in 2 years, we only had to trade 12 times and generated a profit of about $6,800, a little over $6,800. So what we're looking for is a very high-performing system matched up with high-performing instruments, but we also want to take into account exactly how active of a trader do we want to be. So this has me placing a trade every 2 months, essentially, versus other systems that are going to have us in placing trades every 3 or so days. How active do you really want to be? Also, you have to look at the return on your investment. So we're looking at about a 6% return here actively trading this system. Now, one of the things that I do like to look at is whether or not we would have been more profitable just buying and holding this instrument, or should we be actively trading this instrument with this system? And that's what this report also shows, just under performance right here. So we're able to look at, okay, well, actively trading, we generated $6,800, which is annualized performance of a 6.8%. If you were, or overall performance rather, 6.8%. If you were to buy and hold this instrument over the course of the last 2 years, you would have actually lost a significant amount of money. So looking at this right off the bat, obviously, I'm going to not want to take extremely long positions on this. So this has had us in and out a few times, but I can see all of my different orders here. I can see my different positions. One of the things that I also like to look at is the equity curve. So what this is doing is it's showing us, based off of the trading rules that we've established, how well our money is doing over this period of time. This is probably not the best equity curve because of this long dip. I mean, obviously recently, after this long gap up, we've been looking very good, but as far as consistency is concerned, this might not be the best instrument for me. So let's take a look at a different one. United. This one is actually, so we have a little bit less of a return here, but if we take a look at the equity curve, over time we're a little bit more consistent as far as this instrument is concerned. Now, looking at that, do I really want to trade 14 times over the course of 2 years and only generate $3,800? Maybe not. Maybe this is something where I want to look at a different system, but that's what this system tester is for. If you're an individual that likes to really figure out how one specific instrument or a few specific instruments trade, maybe you want to use the system tester in such a way that you trade multiple instruments across multiple systems to really find the right match. As I'm sure we can all agree, every instrument is going to behave a little bit differently. Now, once we have this type of information, we can actually take a look at, okay, what is this possibly going to do in the future? And this is really where our MetaStock Forecaster comes into play. The MetaStock Forecaster we developed a few years ago, and we've been working on it for a very, very long time. And it is one of the newest power tools. In fact, it is the newest power tool in our Power Console. The forecaster, I believe, in all honesty, since it is pretty new, I feel like it's a little bit underused. But let's take a look at a few different ways to use the forecaster tool. Let's take this ADS, for example. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on our forecaster tool. Now I can take a look at a couple of different things. ADS actually came up last as far as our exploration. So let's take a look at that. And the other one we were looking at, I believe, was United Continental Holdings, UAL. So let's take a look at that. So what we're going to do here is we're actually loading up a completely different screen. The MetaStock Forecaster itself recognizes specific price events. We're looking for major events in an instrument, and we want to take a look at all the times that those events have happened in the past. We want to take all of that information. We want to calculate it, and we want to, based off of that information, project into the future the probability that it will move in one direction or another. Now, obviously, again, there's no crystal ball in stock trading or options trading or FX trading, etc. If there was, everyone would be using it right now. But the best thing that we can do is put all of the odds in our favor. So doing all of this analysis, this can be a very, very good confirmation signal for you. Also, it can help set specific trade parameters. So in the exploration as well as the system test, we were actually using moving averages. So out of our recognized events, which there are 52 of them, we can actually select these different major events that are happening. So for example, every time a moving average goes, a moving average crosses down below the 200 period line, what we can take a look at here is what has happened in the past with it. Now, if we're looking at a moving average cross down at 200 period, based off of the last 5 times that that's happened, what we're looking at is a probability cloud of where it will go next. Now, looking at this, it's going to be indicative of a couple of things. We're able to look at the probability of the price direction, but we're also able to essentially establish our trade parameters out of all of this. So if we're looking at taking a short position, we can see the probability that the instrument is going to move down based off of what happens after a 200 period moving average cross down. So once the instrument goes below that line. Now, just to kind of explain to you what you're looking at right now, essentially it's a heat cloud. Now we're looking at our period of time, which goes all the way out to 180 days, a little past 180 days. Over here we have our actual percentages. So just like a normal heat cloud, you're looking at a higher percentage the hotter the color. And this is actually kind of a unique cloud for this instrument because it's giving a very high probability of about a 10% movement as far as the price going up after 90 days. Now again, we're looking at what happens after the 200 period moving average crosses down. If we're looking at something like a 52-week low, we can click on that. So let's say that 52-week low has just happened. We have a pretty decent probability that about a month after that happens, we'll have a swing up of a little under 20%, about 15%. Okay. Now, this is not something where I am without wanting to actually confirm these signals. So what I can actually do is look back in time and see how accurate these signals have been. So for example, I'm going to go back to Thursday, January 28th, and I want to take a look at what the forecast cloud is. Let's actually go to this event. Now this forecast cloud, let's stretch this out a little bit. So what we can see here is that after this event happened, this was actually the recorded forecast cloud at that point. So it stayed pretty true even 2 weeks out to the actual price movement. Now, taking a look at a different instrument. A lot of times the forecaster can be a tool in which you want to set your trade guidelines by, your expectations. Okay, what do I expect to get out of this trade? When can I expect to exit this trade? So let's take a look at that. So here in this menu, I'm actually able to go through and sort these different events by the highest profit potential, most accurate current forecast, many different categories that I can sort these different events by. So if I want to look at most accurate current forecast, it is actually the LCI bearish breakout. Now the LCI system is an expert system that was recently put into MetaStock, created by a gentleman named Logan Connors, and he actually used to work here for a very long time, but now he trades major hedge funds, and he's actually taken his system and programmed it in MetaStock. This is one of his signals. So if we're able to take a look at the accuracy of this, I'm going to head and click on one of these events. It's very, very true that you can take a look at this and see kind of the general movement. Now, this movement, as far as this forecast cloud, which was on, when did this event happen? The 18th of December last year, it really showed you the sideways movement here. So again, it's not a real volatile instrument, something that maybe you're not taking a lot of trades on, but looking at the overall movement, you're able to tell, okay, well, it's pretty much moving sideways at this point after a bearish breakout. Now, looking forward at this forecast cloud, again, this is not real, it's kind of a sideways mover, not a real volatile instrument. Let's take a look at something that is a little bit more volatile. Let's look at Microsoft. So taking a look at Microsoft here, once it loads. Okay. So here we have all of the 52-week highs selected. So these arrows are not buy and sell signals, they're actual event markers. So all of these markers are every single time that a 52-week high has happened. And I want to know how an instrument reacts after a 52-week high. Now, this will actually give you the statistical report at the bottom right. This event has occurred 57 times within the last 1,800 days. So it's happened quite a few times. On average, the event occurs every, looks like a little over 2 weeks. Statistically, 7 days after the event occurs, with a probability of 95%, the closing price appears to be about a little under 1% lower, and it shows you the standard deviation there. So taking a look at this, it makes it very, very easy for me to start establishing my trade parameters. Now, looking at Microsoft, it had a very significant movement recently, which was this gap down. So if I want to be able to say, okay, what happens when this instrument gaps down? What normally occurs after it gaps down like that? All I have to actually do is select that pattern. So I can come in here. I'm going to select this movement right here. Oops. And what this does is it actually takes me to the pattern editor. So what the pattern editor does is it allows me to look for these specific patterns and base a forecast cloud off of it. So what I did in this circumstance is I actually selected the last few bars here. Looks like about 17 bars that I selected. I want to know what's going to happen based off of this specific pattern. What's going to happen on it in the future. So let's title this Let's title it A1 so it pops to the top of the list. So I'm going to go ahead and click Save. I'm going to rescan. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and take a look at it based off of the name. So the one we just created is A1. Doesn't look like it's happened a whole heck of a lot. Let's see here. Okay. So this is an example of including this actual drop-off that I did a little bit earlier. The big gap down is included in this one. So I really want to take a look at this. Now, this event has happened 7 times. However, looking at the forecast cloud, the reason that I point this out is because we have these hot areas later on down the road. So we can look at it and say, okay, if I'm wanting to take an option on Microsoft, an option is based off of that instrument's movement over time. That's all we're looking at here. So if I see a pattern that has happened multiple times in the past, I want to know, okay, after this pattern happens, statistically, what's going to happen? What's its reaction going to be? So if I'm looking to take options, I can say, well, 30 days out, there's about a 70% probability that it is going to be up about 3%. This is an interesting forecast cloud because I have this 60-70% probability 2 months from now that the instrument is actually going to drop off based off of the pattern that has just occurred. Now, if I'm looking to do something very basic, let's say that I didn't find the pattern that I was looking for. If I want to look for a very basic pattern, what the forecaster tool allows me to do is actually create my own pattern. So let's say that I want to look for, let's say like a J hook. Okay, so I've gapped down and I am just starting to turn up. I literally draw this pattern. Now, there's a few things that I can do here. I can invert the pattern. So if I'm looking for a possible trough to peak scenario where we're actually going to reverse back down, I can invert it. I can reverse it. There's a few different things. I can drag and drop these different waypoints, kind of mess with the pattern a little bit. I can change my pattern's sensitivity. Typically with this, since I am looking at a forecast cloud, I don't typically look for an exact match because it's not going to happen very, very often. So I'm going to look in the medium to low range. I want kind of a ballpark of this pattern happening. Now let's name it. Do J for J hook. Add a 1 in there. We'll go ahead and save it. And we're going to rescan, and that pattern will appear. So what I want to do here is take a look at, let's see, we just did J1. Let's take a look at our event markers. Now, the kind of a basic J-hook is actually happened quite a few times with Microsoft. In fact, it's 16 times over the last 1,800 days. Once I draw a pattern, I kind of want to know the accuracy based off of the actual instruments movements. So, for example, I drew our blue right here that's highlighted is the pattern that we've actually drawn, and then the red is the actual price movement. Now, based off of what we drew, this is a 76% match. We can kind of scroll through and look at the percentage matches. This is actually a good one to look at. So let's take a look how accurate the forecast was. This is a very interesting one because we had this pattern, this J-hook pattern happen basically right here. After that, we're looking at, let's see, this happened July 8th. and pretty much stayed within the forecast cloud all the way out through October. So I can see kind of my trading range is going to lie within this forecast cloud. Now, am I going to take this and not do any other analysis and start taking long options on Microsoft? No, that's not something I want to do. But with this, I am able to start looking at what my trading range is, and let's say that the pattern isn't really indicative a couple of months out. I want to start looking at when my exit should be. So the Forecaster tool has a few different ways that you can use it as far as your final determination on taking a trade, which way to take the trade, whether it's long or short, your trade expectations, etc. But it's very, very good at identifying your price movement, which is not only great for options traders, but really all traders. Again, the Forecaster is really, I feel, that something that if you have MetaStock, or if you're using MetaStock currently or wanting to take a trial, play with the Forecaster. You know, start getting into it. We actually have quite a few different videos of it on our YouTube page that walk you straight through many features. Obviously, I'm a little short on time here, so I can't quite get into everything with it. Now, I want to kind of wrap up this this evening by, you know, again, thanking all of our speakers, thanking all of our attendees. I think it's been a you know, very, very good experience having these industry professionals give us a good idea of what the market is like, especially in the FX market, using the Higuro method, and, you know, establishing trade parameters, etc. Now, one of the promotions I want to do here for those of you who attended the summit, the Performance Systems Plus that came with all of the indicators, came with the 54 experts, the 32 indicators, the 75 expert advisors, system tests, and explorations. This is something that really makes a huge difference in your trading, having this type of toolbox in addition to MetaStock. Normally it is $299. We'll go ahead and take $100 off of that this evening or this afternoon for those of you who attended the summit. So the summit price is $199. Again, we will be in Sydney. If you are close to Sydney, if you want to meet us in person, if you want to meet Rahul Mahendar, Stuart McPhee, Paul Nogin, who spoke earlier, Scott Brown, owner of MetaStock, Kelly Clement. Normally these conferences, which we do all over the world, are $599, but for the people that have registered for the summit, we'll go ahead and do a $200 discount for you guys. That's $399. Now, currently we are offering the extended trial, the Performance Systems Plus discount, the summit discount, etc. I have a couple of gentlemen standing by in our chat right now. If you want to go to metastock.com/sales chat to take advantage, or ask more questions about MetaStock, the different tools, how to use it, etc. We're always here to help. You could also call in internationally, +1 801 506 0900. If you are in the U.S., just take the +1 off. Guys, I want to thank you once again for attending our summit. It's been a great success. We look forward to doing many, many more of these. I want to thank again the speakers from tonight. Definitely visit their websites. Let us know if you have any questions. I'll stay on here for a little bit answering questions in our chat program. I apologize, I haven't been able to get through a whole heck of a lot of them, but I'll stay on here for a little bit longer. Please come into chat, give us a call if you have any questions. And again, thanks for coming to the Asia Pacific Online Traders Summit. And as always, happy trading.